Hey, you. Yeah, you. Come here. Do you think you're cool? I'm willing to bet you think you are. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about exactly what it means to be cool, as well as giving you 3 ways you can go from being an average dude to someone who's the epitome of cool. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Ryan here with Top Notch Persona. Before we get into the video, I just want to remind you, at some point, give this one a thumbs up and remember to share it with all your friends so they can benefit from this content, and hit the subscribe button down below. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you stay up to date on what I'm publishing. So as of right now, I'm pretty much putting out there 3 different topics. I'm talking about looking good with style, I'm talking about smelling good with fragrances, and I'm talking about feeling great with these kind of bigger ideas. So where I'm going more into detail about the definition of a word, or how to appear more attractive, stuff like that. So if any of that stuff sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe and share with your friends, alright? This topic is going to be a lot of fun, and I feel you guys are going to get a lot out of it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The definition of cool. According to the Oxford Dictionary, cool can be defined as the quality of being fashionably attractive or impressive. And there are several other definitions, but that's the one I feel is most appropriate. And now, after hearing that, being fashionably attractive and impressive, you might be thinking like, oh man, it must be subjective. And if you think that, you're absolutely right. Not only is cool going to be subjective, so think back to the video I did about what is attractive, which also tends to be subjective. I'm going to link to that down below, so in case you missed that one, you can check it out. But it's basically the same idea. What is cool is going to vary from person to person. And not only that, but what is cool is going to change throughout your life. It's very fluid. So what is cool, or what was cool 10 years ago or 20 years ago, what you thought was cool, most likely isn't what's cool now. Alright? Let me get into that a little bit. Let me ask you something. Take a minute, really take a minute. Close your eyes, alright? And think about this. Think about 10 years ago, what did you think being cool meant? Was it a particular style? Was it a particular attitude? Really just take some time. You can even pause this video real quick and just really think about that. 10 years ago, how would you have defined cool? Alright? After you've got that, after you thought about that, think back to 5 years ago. Again, what was your definition of cool? Was it style? Was it personality? What was it? Alright, so pause if you need again and really think about this. Alright, and now, how would you define cool? Alright, so after you've thought about the 3 different ways, so 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and right now, even write this down if it helps to really visualize this. Write it down just so you can see how your idea of cool has most likely changed throughout the past 10 years. I think back to over the past 10 years, and it's crazy, I'll tell you. Right, 10 years ago, cool to me was just being very simplistic, wearing very dark colors. I'm thinking of Dean from Supernatural, or Damon from the Vampire Diaries, just these rebellious bad boy kind of characters. And I mean, honestly, their style is very casual now that I look back at it. It's rugged, yeah, but it's not, it's not like my style is now. But back then, 10 years ago, I'll even put a picture in here so you guys can see what I looked like. It's kind of funny, but that's what I thought was cool then. 5 years ago, I was really starting my life at college, so I had moved out. I was getting into the zone as a student, and I was setting out on the path to being an English professor, right? So you can imagine all the things I thought were cool back then. And actually, a lot of my current day style has kind of transferred over from like the university. So like a lot of professors, like they don't do it up as much as I do it normally, and definitely not on a daily basis. But there is a bit of my style that I owe from back then. But back then, pretty much 5 years ago, it was more about just being a student and being an English professor. And now, how would I define cool? Well, being the gentleman, right? Like dressing nice, like waistcoats, I think, are really cool. So, as you may have deduced from your own timeline, or even maybe mine, the definition of cool changes with your maturity level and your current interests. Also, it is determinant of your environment. So, for example, let's say I had decided to join a biker gang instead of go to school, all right? I probably would have still found wearing leather every day cool because I would be in an environment that demands it. Does that make sense? What it comes down to in terms of being cool is I think it's best that we all agree that cool is a word without definition, a term without meaning, a word that could mean anything, a wild card of sorts. Alright, I believe that rather than trying to figure out the universal meaning of what it is to be cool, because I'm not sure if there is a universal meaning, I think it is best if we leave it to each individual person to kind of define it for themselves. So again, much like being attractive, like everybody kind of creates their own definition of attractive. Same thing with cool, all right? There is not going to be one universal definitive answer to what it means. It is going to be highly subjective and vary probably from person to person to person. Now, I've thought a lot about this word over the years, thinking really hard about what cool means. And it's a little disappointing that it actually doesn't mean anything, but there is one truth that I've realized about the word. All right? Whatever you think is cool in the moment is probably going to be based around whatever your style is, right? So 10 years ago, like that picture you saw, I dressed very simplistically. I used to wear a lot of leather. I had that soul patch thing going on. And I thought that was cool. That kind of like rocker look. I thought that was cool. 5 years ago, I thought it was the student look. I thought it was the English professor look. I thought that was cool. Now, guess what I think is cool? You've guessed it. This look right here. And that's what this channel is all about, right? Telling you how you can kind of get this look and kind of embody the traits of a gentleman, right? But I think it's cool and I love the topic because that's my style and that's who I am right now. So 10 years from now, maybe I'll have matured even further and I'll find something else to be cool. But pretty much the one absolute truth about it is however your style or whatever your style is right now, that's what you're going to think is cool. But even though there is no solid definition of what it means to be cool, there are certain qualities that I believe everyone would agree on about them being cool, right? So certain habits that people have, certain personas, certain traits, and as a society, we tend to think these particular traits are cool. So in this next part of the video, I'm going to give you 3 specific ways that you can start using to become cool or more cool than you already are, because I know you're already probably cool as hell because you're watching my stuff. But I'm going to tell you 3 ways to make you even cooler. The first way that you can appear a bit more cool is by finding a great fitting pair of sunglasses. Now, I know this one probably sounds obvious, but you have to agree there is no denying that when a guy throws on a great pair of sunglasses that fits his face well, that it just gives him this masculine, really cool look. And it always happens with sunglasses, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's something like the mysterious factor of, like, not being able to see a guy's eyes or something. But I don't know, whatever the case, if you get a great pair of sunglasses and you throw them on, you are going to appear more cool. Real quick though, one more thing about sunglasses. The pair that you just saw me wearing and that I was wearing in the intro of this video only cost me $25. So when you go out looking for a great pair of glasses, something that fits your face really well, makes you look super cool, don't think you have to break the bank. I know there's a lot of brands and they kind of have these really good looking models, these people like Tom Ford and stuff trying to, equate the brand with coolness. But it's not necessarily the case. As long as it fits you super nicely, like it really fits and really exemplifies your face, accentuates your face, that's what's going to matter. So it matters infinitely more that, it fits well and makes you look cool than the price tag. Because if you spend $100 or a few $100s and the glasses still don't fit your face well, then they're just not going to look good. It's not going to make you look cool. So it's not really the price that matters here. The second way you can appear a bit more cool is by just being yourself. Alright? There is something very sexy about a guy who just goes out, does his own thing, has his own goals, has his own reasons for doing things, who is just like so solid in his identity, and he doesn't really let the opinions of others impact his decisions because he knows who he is and he knows what he wants to be doing. Right? And a lot of people, they find this attractive, but it is also a very, very cool trait. So I think about the character Steve Urkel from the show Family Matters, and I love the show. It's one of my favorite sitcoms. But Steve Urkel, if you don't know, is kind of the epitome of a nerd. He's really kind of a loser. He's weak. He's socially awkward. This guy is like, at first glance, he's the opposite of cool. But once you really start to understand his character and like why he's doing what he's doing and how he's not afraid of, kids at school picking on him or whatever, you begin to realize that, like, yeah, he is cool. He's standing up for what he believes in and who he is. And he's not trying to hide the fact that he loves science, right? He's not trying to fit in with a crowd or a preconceived notion of what's cool. And in high school, we all know that preconceived notion is there. But in the case of Steve Urkel, he's still doing his own thing. And I find it to be really cool. And ultimately, the character of his affection, Laura Winslow, falls in love with him because of that reason. Because he always stays true to himself. So no matter what you do, just stay true to yourself. Be who you are and don't try to be somebody else. Don't let the opinions or the desires of others sway you off your path. Because that's not cool when you start, you're just going with the wind and you're just doing things because others want you to do them, right? So stay true to yourself, be your own person, and your coolness is just going to go off the charts, I'm telling you. The third way to appear a bit more cool is by walking with a bit of swagger in your step. Alright, you've probably seen movies or TV shows or just people walking down the street and walk past you and they kind of walk with a little swagger. They walk, they're moving their shoulders, they're swaying their hips maybe a little bit, they're walking with a little bit of flamboyancy. I think that's a good word for it. They're really showing off that they're confident. And again, that C word, the confidence, which is universally important for anything to do with fashion, style, being cool, all of that. But how you walk really can be seen as cool. It can be the difference between people seeing you as someone who's cool or somebody who like they'd actually like to meet, and somebody who seems a little reserved or just kind of neutral. Like, think about it, like a guy who's walking down the street and he's just looking down. He's not even moving his shoulders at all. There's no movement. He's just walking, looking down. Like, you probably won't think he's like cool. You won't think like, oh, that guy's cool. I'd like to meet that guy. That guy seems like he'd be cool to hang out with. Probably not. You're going to be looking for the guys who have the larger strides. They take large strides. They move their shoulders. They're kind of, more active in the way they're moving. And there's something about it that just, again, makes it seem more attractive, and it makes the person seem a bit more cool. So if you're looking to become a bit more cool, or to seem a bit more cool, definitely work on the way you walk. And it might sound a little silly or pointless, but trust me, how you walk is actually a big factor in how people will perceive you and whether or not you are cool. Okay, but now I want to hear from you guys. What is your definition or idea of cool? Do you think that there's a more solid definition, or do you agree with me that what is cool is always going to be in transition? How has your notion of cool evolved throughout the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or over your lifetime? How has it really evolved, or even has it? I mean, maybe it hasn't. Maybe what you used to find cool is still cool. Let me know in the comments down below. And always, guys, remember, when you look and smell your best, you feel your best. And that's what matters.